Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Rev Ron Hunt right here with my man Chris Taylor. Wanted to jump on real quick and just have a discussion with you guys about the current climate of what's going on kind of around the nation right now, but also affecting our nearby areas. So first of all, thank you guys for tuning in. Those that will be tuning in live, those that will be tuning in at a later time. First of all, I just want to give a thank you to my good brother, Chris Taylor, for just having this idea and running it past me. And we got a lot of positive feedback about people wanting something like this to happen. So first of all, thank you to all of you guys who are joining. How you doing, Chris?
Man, I'm doing fine, man. Man, we really got a lot going on, don't we? We really got a lot to talk about, and you know, a lot of things are bothering me, a lot of things are bothering you, and there's just it's crazy times, and it's not a lot of positive, you know. So
Yeah.
I think it's our job as, you know, performers to kind of help kind of educate people and kind of, you know, just, you know, discuss, you know, the things that are going on, and you know, anybody who wants to be able to get some things off their chest, you know what I mean? This is the time, you know. There's a lot going on, and we're here to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the things, you know, as we've been kind of going on, naturally just knowing the climate of where things are at, you know, a lot of people all over the United States are right now trying to band together and fight against police brutality and just racism as a whole. But then also, you know, we naturally deal with some things that are within our own close-knit of a family, being within that wrestling realm of that organization, but then also within our own you know, intimacy of where we are in regards of states. So like Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, all being kind of collectively cohesive as one. So first of all, was there anything that kind of stuck out to you? I mean, there's so much that we have to talk about, and I think it was good for us to at least give people this platform to be able to at least discuss some of these things. Let this be an open format. So first of all, anyone that's wanting to drop a comment, please speak from your heart, but also keep it professional and PG to as much as you can, because you never know if a child is going to be watching. So speak your mind, but please be careful of some words that you use in regards to profanity in those messages.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you asked about some specific things, man. I mean, obviously, we got a lot to talk about with the Rick Diamond situation, the Black Diamond Wrestling, the Jim Miller situation that popped up the other day. A lot of the speak out movement, you know, the women in professional wrestling that have spoken out about, you know, sexual allegations and stuff that's going on there. So, I mean, where do you want to start, you know?
Well, I mean, let's just start for those that are just now connecting. I think, you know, it's one of the most recent things in regard of Rick Diamond and Black Diamond Wrestling, BDW. First of all, if anyone's not aware, there was a post that was made by Rick Diamond. He's the owner there. Those posts were kind of focused within George Floyd. Some off-censored, off-colored jokes were made in regards of that, showing some pictures of his death with his face covered over in the color pink, and the bottom said Pink Floyd, and some other things were mentioned in regards of, look, you know, George is now 2 weeks sober of drugs, in regards of dating back to when he was killed. And this has been something that's been a sore spot, not only for, I think, people in the African American community, but just those in general that feel that we should progress a little better as a whole within the United States. And then, you know, unfortunately, you see things like that. I can speak for myself, and I can speak for some of the guys and females that I've seen speaking up. Unfortunately, when it comes to something like that, that shows a reflection not only on yourself, but in regards of the company that you represent. And I think that's what really got people irritated. And Chris, we have both been down this path before, where we have had to make that decision based on someone on a higher scale doing something that was quite unforgivable, and we said this not only reflects you, but this reflects the people that are underneath you. So with me, you know, that was my stance. I don't support that. You know, I do not feel like that was hilarious, and the fact that there was no apology that was given to those that figured it was an issue, but then also there was the defense of it of, well, I did not see black versus white. I just saw a person and an officer. Well, even better, what if that was one of their own family members? And I think sometimes these are not things that are quite discussed, because unfortunately, somewhat in a way, I feel society is numb to some of this because it happens so often, unfortunately. But to be able to say that as an excuse, it makes you want to. You have to look at yourself a few times in other ways and see, okay, well, where is the problem? How can I fix the problem? And I don't feel like that was done in that case.
No, and it absolutely wasn't. I mean, listen, you know me, I'm known for my sense of humor. I've got a big sense of humor. I got that Family Guy sense of humor. I laugh about a lot of things.
Yes.
But there is nothing that has been happening within the past, month or so now, nothing that has been happening that's funny at all. So when you're going to take the time during, these times that we're in, and you're going to try to post jokes, you're going to, even if you think it's funny, there's a lot of people, there are millions of people out there right now that don't find it funny. And the thing is, you took 20 years or so to build a company, right? And you're going to throw it away based off of something that you think is funny? I mean, come on, man. Like, let's really look at that. Like, you're making fun of, first off, you're making fun of a man's death.
Yeah.
All right. There's nothing funny about the way he died. There's nothing funny that he died. There's nothing funny about the situation that happened at all. And then you take into account, the people that are hurting over this. Millions of people that are hurting. We've got a lot of angry, upset, hurting people that are fighting for this and fighting for police reform. And if you're out there making jokes, you're out there making bad taste jokes.
Yes.
What do you think is going to happen? Like, what do you think? All right, let's put it this way. All right, a few years back, all right, Pittsburgh wrestling had my back, right? When Jim Miller had some things to say about me, Pittsburgh wrestling had my back. That showed me that Pittsburgh wrestling had a lot of respect for me. And to this day, it brings tears to my eyes. To this day, I think about how amazing it is that everybody in the community backed me up. Now, it takes years upon years upon years to gain respect, right?
Absolutely.
It takes seconds to lose respect.
Absolutely.
To lose it. So, say you did build a great roster. You built respect over the years. You throw it away in 1 second. If I went on right now and started making fun of George Floyd, or I started making fun of Black Lives Matter, or the women that are out there wrestling that are having issues with promoters and other wrestlers sexually harassing them, all of that respect that I've earned, gone in a second.
Yeah.
What's it worth? What's it really, really worth? It's tasteless and it's not worth anything. And now you've got a guy like Rick who totally it's gone. It's gone. There's nobody who's going to respect themselves that is going to sit there and go, all right, I can work for this guy. I can wrestle for this guy. You just can't do it, And I've seen some people that are actually trying to defend Rick in this, and I'm not going to completely vilify Rick as a person because I don't know Rick as well as others. I've wrestled for BW, and that was mostly because of Jake, Jake Garrett.
Absolutely.
But I have dealt with Rick. I have never had a problem with Rick. However, I'm not going to completely vilify him. I'm not going to sit there and say he doesn't ever deserve forgiveness or anything like that. But not only did you do what you did, but you didn't own it. You didn't own it, and it's not only was it a problem in general, but you didn't own it, and now you just ran away. And it's like, I think we lost Rick. No. Like, you know what I'm trying to say, though.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the things, Chris, like you said, and by all means necessary, we are not perfect in any means necessary. And at the same time, the so-called quote unquote joke was very senseless. But at the same time, right now it's not to the fact of let's put him on a stake and off with his head. It's the fact that if you made a rightfully wrong decision, or if you made a mistake by ignorance, there is still the redemption of owning that, and then saying, hey, I understand it was bad, or based on my ignorance, I wasn't thinking at that time. But it's another thing to make other people say, well, hey, this is this it is what it is. Everyone that knows me knows I'm not this. But yet the actions show otherwise. And I think that's what a lot of people around the area were looking for, was a sense of admit that you're wrong, ask for forgiveness, and we can take it from there. Things might not be like they were before, but then we can take it from there. But the fact that, just like you said, he did not want to own up to it. And like I said, we've said this before, and this will transition into the other portion of that, is when we go into the fact with Jim Miller. Chris, you and I, we were the first of the so-called notorious exodus that kind of just felt like that was the right time for us to, wipe our hands of it and try to start anew. And, fortunately, I still do not regret that. And I think, we made some wonderful memories off of that. But at the same time, that was almost the same situation before, not owning it up and making everyone else feel like they're the problem, instead of realizing that there is a cancer, there is a tumor within the sport, within the industry, and we must call a spade a spade.
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right. And at that time, with PWX, with Jim Miller, at that time, that was all strictly business. That was strictly business. That was stuff that, this doesn't involve what's going on right now. But whereas with Rick, I can't necessarily vilify him, and I'm not trying to turn this into a shoot, and I'm going to try not to make this a Barry fest or anything of the sort, but I am going to be straight up and honest. Where I can't vilify Rick per se, because I don't necessarily know him as deep as a person. I do know Jim.
Yeah.
And a lot of people know Jim. And this is years and years and years in the making. I mean, this guy has been up to these games and that type of stuff for years upon years upon years, even leading up to this. And there's a lot of people who have exited, and he lost an entire roster full of people, starting with us, and then it just trickled down slowly but surely.
Very good quality.
Very, very good. It was some of the best, some of the very, very best. And it pained me to do that. It pained you to do that.
Yeah.
I love Quinn Magnum. Quinn Magnum's one of my trainers. Quinn Magnum is the guy that gave me the ball in that company to be a main event superstar.
Yes.
Right? It pained me to have to go, I'm done with this. I am done with what is going on, and I'm leaving. But I was standing up for my principles. I was standing up against what was wrong, and I was standing up for what was right. And you did the same.
Exactly.
And this is no different. These situations are no different. When it comes to Rick, like you said about owning it, you also got to understand, even the people that are trying to defend him, and there's not too many, but even the people that are trying to defend him in this, you got to understand, even if you're taking a side and you are taking his side on it, you got to understand that no matter what, his actions are going to have consequences.
Absolutely.
Anything we do in life will have consequences of sorts. Yeah. And the consequence of that is people going, I cannot be professionally or personally involved in you. And I don't and that's where the people are trying to defend him. It's like, we're not trying to bury the guy. We're not trying to vilify him per se. We're standing up for what's right and what's going on right now in this country. And we are not going to be part of somebody who is out there being a completely tasteless jackass, quite frankly.
Yeah, and I think that was one thing, and like I said, I think it's just a free for all. Regardless of what your decision is, in regards of this or anything, if you continue to want to work for someone, that is on you. Pardon me. No one can tell you, what you can or cannot do. That is your decision, and your decision is respected. But when people are just making a public statement that they cannot work for that particular person, once again, their decision is their decision. And that's what we are seeing a lot of people at, and a lot of phenomenal people. Just Keith Hott is just one of them that I could think of that, really, just stuck to his ground. And I'm mentioning him because Keith has been there since day one. And, so many others like West Fetty Beastman. That has made a stance, and I really look at the people that have been there since day one, because as you know, it's very hard to walk away from something that you've been with since day one. And, now saying, hey, unfortunately, I have to wipe my hands of this. That just speaks of the character of that person and the quality of that person being human. So once again, just thank you to everyone that stuck together with your decisions. But, at the end of the day, it's like, where exactly do we go from here? And, some of the viewers, I'm staying posted to you guys. I see some comments. I just saw that Sean Phoenix just jumped on here, and BC still just said, to give perspective to all of you guys who left, myself, Chris LaRusso, Chris Taylor, the Rev, RPW, Marcus Mann, named a bunch of people, all gone in the span of years. And he was just talking about just within PWX. And as you know, we tried our best to make the best out of a situation. And you and I have been there. We had veterans there like Shirley Doe. We had those there that are current people like a BC Steele and a David Lawless and a Duke Davis. Quinn was at every meeting. And just to kind of shed the light on that, because right now it seems like we're in this rotating door of the blame game. And to myself, it doesn't do me good. It doesn't do me bad. But I'm going to speak my mind because that's what I promise when I say that I'm the savior of pro wrestling. That's not a gimmick. And that means for me to stand up for what is right and for the people that I know are doing right in this business. And I can tell you without a certainty of a doubt, and I would say it to his face, and I have before, Jim Miller is not one of those people. And the fact that he is pretty much wanting to erase the history of those that broke their back, Chris, you being one of them, so many others. You had your Dean Radfords, your Quinns, so many, your Brandon Kays, your Shirley Does, and I don't want to keep naming because I'm going to, but every veteran, whether currently here or gone, knows how much they helped out that business. And the fact that now there's trying to be an erase of that and start anew and then say it's not going to be like the other guys and all this other stuff. Let's look at the realism of what it is, of how many people tried their hardest to come to your aid. And I'll be the first to tell you, I used to work at a school a block and a half up the way where we used to run it. And I will put flyers there because I got the okay from the principal. But the fact that they did not even know that there was wrestling anywhere nearby at that time, that's the issue. And we cannot keep blaming. Everyone has a part. The wrestlers have a part. The bookers, the promoters, every single person has a part. But when you try to throw everything off of you and then blame everybody else, but yet with even different people in, somehow you keep seeing the same thing and new people saying the same thing about the same person, it's time for you to look in the mirror.
It is absolutely time to look in the mirror. The problem with Jim, and again, I don't want to pull this into a berry fest, but this is what it is. This isn't sour grapes. This is just truth. This is how it's been for a long, long time, for years upon years upon years. You talk about the legacy of PWX. You talk about guys like Vince Kaplak and Sean Evans, and we can just go on and on and on and on and on about the men and the women that have been in that company, that have built that company from the ground up. First and foremost, who takes all the credit for it? Jim Miller.
Mm-hmm.
If anything goes wrong, it's the wrestlers and the managers and everybody else. If everything went right, Jim took the credit for it. That's how Jim is. That's how Jim always was. But it's been a broken record year after year after year, and cycle after cycle. There'll be a new group that moved in, and the next thing you know, the same thing. There'll be a good build. We'd have something going, and then kaput, gone. And it was normally because of something that Jim pulled. It pissed everybody off. But for Jim to take what he posted the other day, and we'll get into that shortly, and for Jim to sit there and say, well, we're starting anew, and this isn't going to be the way it's going to be. It's not going to be the old boys club and King, as he keeps putting it. It's not going to be the King's people. It's like, brother, you're taking 25 years of an incredible legacy, and you literally you might as well just pull your pants down, taking a dump on it. On it. And that is an insult to everybody. Absolutely everybody who's ever stepped foot in that ring and hurt their bodies and try to put on the best damn show that they can put on. It's an absolute insult. And to once we start touching on the other thing, man, I'm gonna get a little emotional because there's something that I saw a little bit ago on my post from earlier that, man, it just touched me. But yeah.
Was it the inbox message? Or was it something else?
It was the one from today.
Yeah.
The one about him, whoever he was talking to, about having a specific kind of match.
Yes.
Oh yeah. And that was a nail in the head for me. That's whenever I sat there and said, you know what? There's so much going on. I feel like Rev and I need to kind of vent about it, and kind of anyone else who wants to chime in, could hop on with us because man, it started with Rick, and then next thing you know, there's the thing going on with Jim, and it's just like, what is going on?
And as you can see, and I think a lot of people that do not know the full concept of what has been happening, when you look at the realism of this, I mean, it's not like we're just like nitpicking, because even after this happened, I remember in particular, there was a message that went directly from Jim Miller to Rick Diamond. Now, instead of messaging him, which I don't think he has the intellectual capacity to do so, he decided to put on his wall publicly of all wrestlers are the liberals, and then here it comes. comes with, and we'll put it out there, Jim Miller asking someone, hey, we should have a cross-sliding match with all the other wrestlers being KKK members. And the proof is in the pudding. He tried to change his profile picture, but yet people have the screenshot of when it was that profile picture, and a lot of us knew when you had that profile, because you just recently changed it, Jimbo.
Just what, yesterday?
But the fact that you send someone that, and you send a black wrestler that.
I mean, what, again, first off, with everything that's going on, that just happened with Rick, first and foremost, and everything that's going on elsewhere, how do you think that's not going to get out there? How do you think that someone's going to sit there and go, WTF? In fact, the person responded with what? Because no one knew where it came from or what was going on. But you want to talk about completely and utterly tasteless. And I'm not surprised. You're not surprised. Nobody is surprised by it. But how dumb can you really be?
Yeah.
All right. Not only is it going to piss people off further, you already have a horrid reputation amongst everybody. You've already lost everybody. But you're going to go out there and you're going to send somebody a message about having a cross-burning match.
Yes.
With wrestlers posing as Ku Klux Klan members.
Yeah.
I don't care if, again, you think it's funny. I don't care if it's a cute little joke in your mind.
Yes.
That is garbage. Pure and utter garbage. And people like us are going to find out about it. And we're not gonna stand for it. We're just not going to stand for that. And that actually made my stomach kind of turn today. Like my stomach turned. It did. It really, really did. And here's where it upset me the most, because I posted it, and you know just as well as I do that we have a fan. Her name is Michaela. All right. And this is where I'm going to get a little bit emotional. You know, she posted on the comments that she says, what hurts me most. She said, what hurts me most is that I supported that company for so long. And you know, and I know, we see Michaela as a little sister.
Absolutely.
And we all know that Michaela has aspirations one day of getting into the pro wrestling business. All right. She loves pro wrestling. She loves what we do. She supports us every chance she gets. For her to sit there and say, like, I am hurt. Dude, that broke my heart, man.
Yeah.
Because it broke my heart because she's just getting ready to go into the real world, so to speak. You know what I mean?
And it's already ugly as it is, making that leap.
And you see something like that. And part of me is, I mean, it breaks my heart that she had to see it. There's also part of me that's glad she did.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the more and more that anyone is aware that there are people like that out there, the more you can protect yourself and you can, you know, watch out for people like that.
Exactly.
But I think the thing that worries me the most is, okay, so it hurts too, is that Michaela wants to get in the wrestling business one day. All right. First off, she better get her education or I'll kick her butt.
Yes, education first.
But if you're a young, aspiring pro wrestler, young, aspiring valet, whatever you want to be in the wrestling business, all right, that has been her dream for a long time. When you see stuff like that pop up, what if that is going to shatter a dream right away?
Yeah.
To sit there and go, I can't get into a business like this where there's sexism, where there's sexual misconduct, where there's racism. I want to get into it, but it just looks like a dirty business. And you're taking a kid who's got a big dream and you're just going to destroy it. Like, I don't want to see that happen to her because she's an extraordinarily bright kid. She's got the world in her hands. She's got all the talent. She's got all the skills. She's got a big heart. And that broke my heart, man. Like, that hurt when I saw that. Like, and those are the actions of a human being that hurt somebody I care about and hurt more people that I care about. You know what I mean? And that just, dude, that hurt today. I really did.
I think one of the things when we look at the concept of the artistry and sports in general, is meant to be a joy to people. You know, we all have a real world that we deal with outside of our house, but to be able to come home and turn something on like a basketball, football, hockey, baseball, wrestling, boxing, whatever it is, that is your what we call, your you time, your time to just release everything that you had to deal with on the outside world and come in and let that sit. But even more, I feel like we are privileged to have even a thumbprint on the sport of professional wrestling, because that is the way for people to what we call escape your reality. And even for those that work within, that is our job. And that is, our main feeling is that allows us to escape reality. But at the same time, we have to look at, the art of the business says sometimes a lot of things are not fully in our control as we would like, which also ushers that gate for issues like this to seep in. And the fact that when you see something like that from management, from a management personnel, that's what hurts it even more when you have had African Americans work for your company. You have had other people work for your company. And then now you bring this issue about and you have no remorse. You have no apology for it. And pretty much it is what it is type attitude. And I think that's where it hurts people the most at, is that, you're in this realm to allow people to escape, and it seems like you're bringing more ugliness into it.
Right. Well, I mean, and again, we just talked about the legacy of PWX and stuff like that, but you talk about what Jim posted about the the clan match, so to speak. Again, almost 25 years. All right. Yeah. Look at the incredible African American talent that you have had come through your company. People like Homicide or Big, you know what I mean? Mark French, a good buddy of ours, who was a cornerstone of the company for how long? One of your champions. All right. You look at, Tyrone Evans, Kano, Spiral, all the way down to guys like yourself, Christian Orr, Duke Davis, Gannon Jones Jr.
Lee Moriarty.
Look at Lee Moriarty. Yeah. Incredible African American talent that has come through your company and done amazing things. And you're gonna have the audacity to just spit in the face of that legacy? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that's the type of stuff we do. We just don't need that. We don't need it anywhere, first and foremost. We don't need it in our world. Okay. Unfortunately, it's something we deal with every day, and it sucks.
Yes.
We definitely don't need it in our business. And that's why we're here, because we're not going to put up with it. We're not going to sit there and stand for it. And people like this are going to get exposed any chance we get.
Yeah. And I think when looking at this, and like I said, please send your comments, because myself or Chris will look at them. And then we also have Sorg that's helping us also. Thank you to IndyWrestling.us, and thank you to the Sorgs for helping us get the word out there and being a platform for us to do this and all of the hard work. And, even just with thanking them, it comes into mind, just like when it comes to a feeling of desperate times calls for desperate measures. You unfortunately have people that will try to claw and put the blame game on anyone or try to call anybody else, except looking in the mirror and dealing with themselves. And, the stories are another that have been phenomenal. And I tell you this personally, because I've had conversations with Mike and Missy on the side, and the amount of the pandemic kind of hurt a little bit, but for the amount of mileage that they put on the road, they're doing busier than half of the people that I know,
Right.
So the fact that, you have hardworking people, not only in the ring, but outside of the ring on every background profession helping out, but yet you try to also throw shade their way. First of all, you must first look at how your own house is constructed before you try to throw stones at the house that's across the street. Because if you're throwing stones at the houses across the street and your house is barely standing up with just 5 feet of wind, we must look at where the true problem is and where the foundation of that problem is, so we can now start to rebuild that cornerstone. And I feel like a lot of times, it hurts. We all have to look at ourselves in some way, shape, or form. Like I said, Chris, you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. No one in this world is perfect. I feel like we all can do a better job with looking at ourselves and seeing how we can better ourselves. But yet at the same time, do not make excuses for when you see injustices happening. We see that right now where, the community is asking for the police to just be held accountable. If you see someone in uniform doing the wrong thing, please do your part in holding them accountable. That's our job in society as a whole. If you see, your family member doing something, if you see your friends doing something, we all have a part in holding each other accountable. And, even, that was even one thing, just even looking at, my standpoint of things, from a church perspective, being the Rev, there's a scripture that talks about that pretty much if you know what is right, but yet you see your brother slipping or you see your sister slipping, but you're not telling them what's right, then their blood is on your hands at the end of the day because you knew better, but you were just too scared to say anything. So it's all of our duty to speak up when we see such things, to talk about such things.
Yeah, dude. Listen, like you said, you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Listen, I've got just as many skeletons in my closet as anybody else has, man. I've got a past, but the difference between, the people like we're talking about and people like myself is everyone has been young and dumb at one point in their life. We've all done things we're not proud of. We've all said things we're not proud of. The difference is the people that end up learning from those mistakes, the people that end up growing from those mistakes, those are the people that end up making a difference later on and going, okay, you know what? I found myself. Now I can help try to change the world.
Yes.
As opposed to other people who are out there and live their entire life in complete denial of what's going on in the mirror every day and just going by the status quo, just going by the flow. This is I'm right. I'm not doing anything wrong. Something's wrong with the rest of the world. Nothing could possibly be wrong with me.
Yeah.
At one point in my life, I had to look myself in the mirror, and I did that. And I grew. I became a better person for doing that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of individuals out there that aren't capable of doing that. If you're not capable of doing that, we live in a society now. We live in an age now. I mean, you can say social media, it's got its curses, but it's also got its pros. If you're a person that's going to live a garbage lifestyle, or you're going to be a scumbag to other people, you're going to get called out. Something's going to slip eventually, and you're going to anything. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if it's pro wrestling. It doesn't matter if you're a musician or if you're a manager at Sheetz or you're a librarian. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do. If you're going to be a scumbag type person, you're gonna get called out, and you're gonna lose everything you build. Plain and simple.
And I think, when we were talking about this, Chris, not only do I think it's beneficial to talk to those that are currently in the business, and clearly I see we got a lot of veterans that are on that are still helping out and putting their input into this business to try to keep it as alive and as quality, as much as great quality as possible. But then also those that are on here that have been following IndyWrestling.us, or Chris and myself, and are considering perhaps getting into it, my first thing is do your research. If there are people that you respect in this business, ask them what are some good schools. Be mindful of where you're going and follow your gut instinct. Really be careful because a lot of times, sometimes the truth is ugly. Sometimes people do not want to hear it. But it's going to help you in the long run. And Chris, you were even just talking about a time that, there was some point in your time when you were going through your own separate battles that, you had to look, in the mirror to yourself. And, I know that was painful for you during that time, but I think, now looking back at it and seeing how much you have achieved and, you already made your mark that time, but even how much stronger you've made a mark from just people knowing your story about how you overcame, you could say, hey, it was painful to start, but, I'm very fortunate that I at least took those steps forward, in the long run.
Yeah. And, change is hard, change is hard when you're trying to make a better change for yourself in life. Yeah, that journey can be almost deadly at times, but it's all about growth. It's all about being a better person and adding good to the world, because it's an ugly world. Especially nowadays, it's an ugly world. So those are some of the things that I have learned through my journey, is okay. So I didn't always wear the white hat in my past, I can't change those things. All right, I wasted a lot of time and a lot of energy doing a lot of dumb crap. Whenever I took a look in the mirror and I made that change and I got to where I am now, my goal was to leave a positive legacy, that when people think of me years from now, they sit there and go, they smile when they think
Yeah.
about me, or they sit there and go, man, Taylor, he was a good dude. He helped people out. He helped wrestlers out. He tried to help people out wherever he could. And I'm sure you're very much the same way. You're very much the same kind of person. You try to do good in the world. You try to spread positivity. You try to educate people on things. You know, you and I could be on here right now just MFing everything up and down. We're not doing that. You know, we're trying to elicit positive change within not just the wrestling industry, but you know, our communities in the world in general.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think, you know, one of the things when, you know, looking at it, and, you know, I know we're talking about just the state of, you know, Pittsburgh professional wrestling and other areas as well, you know, this is a problem that's happening nationwide. You know, it just so happens that some things, you know, now that we're focused here in the Pennsylvania area with Chris and I in particular have came up within about the last 24 hours or so. And then some additional things that happened within this previous week. First of all, I just not only want to give a kudos to all of the men and women that have been speaking up, but then also to those in management of other companies that I know personally that have been doing the right thing or that are focusing on positives, you know, and, you know, just off the top of my head, and I'm going to forget someone, but just off the top of my head, you know, your KSWAs, your Fight Undergrounds, your Rises, your IWCs, your RWAs, just to name a few that I know that management is, you know, once and all inclusive. You know, they don't want to exclude or tear away anybody just by their colors or their you know, their race or their gender or anything like that. And I feel like while we're in this time, I've seen things more different than other situations, unfortunately, when we have a situation like a George Floyd or something of injustice that has happened like that. And I've seen more togetherness come from people nationally, from people locally, and it's a good thing. But at the same time, you know, while we're in this, you know, I'm not much of a farmer, but I worked in West Virginia, Chris, and I also did some shows in West Virginia. But so I know a tad bit about farming, but the whole pruning system, if you ask any gardener, you know, you have to go through and you have to cut those things that are dead so that the new can come up and prosper and gain off of the richness of that ground. And it's the same thing with anything that you go through, you know, as we are seeing people come more together. We still have dead branches. We still have dead leaves that are in their own small way trying to infect things subconsciously and consciously. And it is our job to call it what it is. When we see something, we have to speak up. You're not alone. There are people that will support you, you know, if they're seeing the same thing. But sometimes it just takes one bold person to say something. And you'll be able to see that, you know, once everyone comes together, there will be a wave of change that comes through. And it may not happen overnight, but I can promise you it's going to happen because you're going to have people that's going to back you up.
Well, and you hit the nail on the head, you know, for all the negative that's been happening lately, you know, there are so many positives to focus on. First and foremost, the unification of Pittsburgh wrestling through all of this.
No,
all of
absolutely.
the amazing guys and girls that are just unified through this and said, you know, we're not going to stand for it. You know, we're in this together. I can't remember the last time I've seen Pittsburgh wrestling or even the region, Ohio, Pittsburgh, just this unified, you know, and it's great. It's an amazing thing.
I think the last time was when we were on the Chris Taylor is a great guy tour.
I think so. I think that was a lot, man. That still blows me away. But you hit on some of the organizations in the area, and there are some amazing promoters out there too that are doing amazing and positive things in the business. You know, and you've got Brandon Kay, you've got Cato up in Imagine,
absolutely,
Dr. Feelbad, who we know very, very well, and who runs KSWA? I can't. The name slips me right now.
KSWA. That's Lou Martin and Bobby O.
Okay. Now I've heard great things. I've heard good things about them.
Lawrenceville.
Yeah, I don't know them very well, but I've heard great things about them. So, but like most of all, especially involving this situation with PWX and Black Diamond Wrestling, let's give some props and some love to guys like Jake Garrett and Quinn Magnum.
Absolutely.
Okay, because those guys built over the years incredible rosters, incredible shows, and have done incredible things, bringing up young wrestlers, teaching them the ropes, teaching them how to be superstars,
Yes.
all while dealing with some
With the
very,
crazy.
very bad stuff. And their names should not get dragged through the mud of this situation whatsoever, and especially Quinn, because we all know what that poor man has done. Quinn, if you're watching, you're a saint. I'm sorry, you are a saint. You're an absolute saint. And it always pained me through all the stuff with PWX that we went through, that Quinn and I ever went into each other's throats, because that situation sucked, because Quinn is a brother to me, and he gave me everything that I had, okay? He gave me the opportunity to prove that I could be a star in this business, and when nobody else would. Yeah. And for him to get drugged through the mud, for Jake to get drugged through the mud through this situation, those guys do not deserve that, because they are great people, and they are what's the word I'm looking for, Rev? They are
great guys.
Oh goodness. Well, they're incredible for the business. That's what I'm trying to say is and they've done amazing things over the years.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. And just like you said, there are so many hands that have been trying their hardest, and just to put this out there, just because you may not have seen a lot of that fighting on the outside, from an outside worker perspective or from a fan perspective, I can tell you, nothing but great things from Jake. Really, in my personal dwellings, I did not have a direct issue with Rick. He was flexible, but in regards, I'm focusing on the post and how the attitude was addressed. After the post was number one taken down, he reposted it and had a smart comment in regards of reposting it. And then as people were beginning to get upset about it, he had some more smart replies for those people. So that just shows that there's no sympathy. There's no apology that's coming. There's no care or concern that your joke was about someone's dead son through injustice that has pretty much caught a good majority of this nation, rather rightfully or wrongfully, on fire. But yet you make an excuse for that joke. That's my address. Just like you said, those guys have been working hard through that. Nothing but respect and love for them. I've been with Jake on numerous occasions. All the love in the world to that gentleman. Quinn, the same exact way. As a matter of fact, I was talking to him a few days ago, and as we're preparing to do what we do with Play Underground, I told him, I said, hey brother, we worked through a couple things. He said, hey, you don't got to do this, and I said, listen, this is just my thank you, just like you said, Chris, for when I got back to Pittsburgh, you gave me that opportunity. And, even outside of that, and I said, I feel like this is the right thing to do, because, we've seen personally all of the craziness and absurdness that he tried his hardest to bring the biggest of four-wheelers with chains on it to drag some things through it and to wipe it off and make it brand new again. But unfortunately, you can only do but so much because of the reputation that is surrounding it and that is being tainted. So my thing is, kudos to those guys. Once again, kudos to all of the other managers and all of the wrestlers that are doing the right thing. And I just want to get to a comment real quick. And I think I wanted to, Chris, if it's okay, I think I wanted to be on here for about an hour or so. So I know we got about 7 minutes, unless someone else wanted to jump on. So if you guys want to jump on, send a comment, and we can perhaps get you on if we have the capabilities of that. If not, then, we'll be able to do something for these last 7 minutes. But Tiffany said he lives in his own bubble and acts like his comments or posts have any consequences, or acts like his comments and posts do not have any consequences. And that's a dangerous thing, man. That's a dangerous thing to deal with.
Well, are we talking about Jim or are we talking about Rick?
I think both. We've seen the same thing from both. I've seen it longer from Jim, but we've seen the same thing from both, just in regards to even the current situation with Rick.
Absolutely, and both of those guys are in that boat for sure. They're rowing together. There's no doubt. Jim, particularly because I know him better, because I dealt with him more. Again, he will always be a victim. All right, he will always be right. He will never be wrong. He does live completely in his own little world. There is zero wrong he can do ever.
Absolutely, zero wrong. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I mean, Chris, the reason why The reason why you and I just went, because you were still working with RWA and PWX at that time, but the reason why you said I'm just going to stick to RWA, and the reason why I gave Phil Bad a call right then, and I'll put this on personal record, Phil Bad never asked for me. Actually, I got some heat because I was still at PWX and I was chasing after you, and I commented some things. I told him, hey, it was all on my own. But when it came down to it, one of the meetings that we had was being accused that he pulled down some signs. That Phil Bad had pulled down some PWX signs or anything like that, and we addressed that with Phil Bad. He said I did not do anything of that, and actually the restaurant that he said this happened at, ironically, was the restaurant that Jim went down to and pulled down a sign. And Derek said you could talk to those owners directly. I talked to those owners directly because months before that, I did a autograph signing for PWX at that restaurant, and they admitted that Miller came in and said, "What's this garbage?" Ripped it up and everything like that. So the truth is out there. And, like I said, I cannot urge enough that if you're looking to get into this business, we don't want to scare you away from it, but you have to understand the realism of this. There are very great things that could work when you persevere. There are great things that happen when, you stick through things, but do not be a dummy and get through things just for the sake of saying you did it. Do it with good conscience because, hard work is hard work. You have to get through it. But at the same time, there's a difference when you see someone that is doing more bad and tearing down the business than building it up. Then you might have to pack up your bags and really look at the quality of what you are doing.
Yeah, and if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. If you're
too good to be true.
If you're gonna go into a wrestling school and you're basically gonna be like, hey, we'll train you if you do chores. We'll train you if you pay us a few $100s and just do some chores. And all of a sudden you're on some sort of goofy ass internet show, completely underprepared. It's probably not the place you want to train to be a professional wrestler. Do your research. Make sure you get in with good people. We all know Brandon Kay. He's an incredible trainer. We all know IWC produces absolutely incredible talent.
Yeah.
If Quinn ever starts training again, Quinn's an incredible trainer, an incredible guy. A lot of very, very, very good people out there, but you do got to watch. And like someone like Michaela, if she ever wants to get into the business, man, I'm sorry. I'm going to be overprotective big brother like a son of a bitch with that because I will not let anything ever happen to that girl in this business. Likewise. I just will not let it happen. And much like, I'm very protective of her, and I'm very protective of talented young minds and young potential. And you gotta watch who you get in bed with, per se, in the wrestling business, both literally and figuratively, because there's a lot of bad out there, and you just gotta watch yourself. And then these are some examples today that we're talking of.
Yeah, and I think, Chris, and let me just ask you this question: with how we have seen the Pittsburgh professional wrestling scene, and we say that very loosely because we know some people come from the outside, but a majority are from Pittsburgh. But from those that come from the Pittsburgh professional wrestling scene, and just seeing time and time again how when there's adversity, they come together. When there's division, they come together. When someone is getting bullied, they come together. Is there anything that you want to say to anyone out there, from the Pittsburgh wrestling scene, whether on the office perspective or on the worker perspective?
Man, I mean, we could probably go another hour if we did that, to be honest with you. I mean, you got someone like Honey Badger out there who has dealt with so much of someone like Jim's crap, or any of the women on the independent scene. I mean, I wish we had another hour just to talk about all of that that's going on right now, because just like with racism, just like with bigotry, sexual misconduct is not acceptable anywhere in this world, especially in our locker rooms. And that's something, man, I wish we could talk another, like I said, I wish we had another 45 minutes with that, because there's a lot of that coming out right now, both guys and girls too. I mean, this is happening all the way across the board. To anybody out there in the wrestling business, whether it's racism, whether it's sexual misconduct, whether you're uncomfortable, whether people are putting you in a position where you are uncomfortable, or they're saying, hey, you know what, we'll get you booked, or we'll give you a push, or we'll get you somewhere if you're doing this or you're doing that, if you do this for me, or hey, come to my car with me, or anything of the sort like that. If there's anybody dealing with any of that, speak out whether and get it out there, because this is a time and place where we could start weeding out the crap. We can really start weeding it out at this point, and I think that's what we need to start doing, because overall, the professional wrestling business is an incredible place. There's so much good, so many amazing people in the wrestling business. I don't want anyone to think it's just, oh my God, what a terrible place. It's an amazing place, but there are a lot of snakes. There are a lot of scumbags out there, and it's time that we start going out there and being like, all right, we're not going to stand for it anymore. No more of that. No more of that. You know, especially the girls out there right now, man. If there's something going on, speak out.
Yeah.
Because there's no place for that at all. Period.
Yeah. And I think, and to kind of, you know, bring this full circle as we're about to close in, and we'll talk about Sorg as well, but if he's comfortable, if it's not today, you know, I think this is something that I think a lot of people definitely just need an outlet to discuss and everything like that. So, if, you know, if he's ever down with the future, you know, we'll go even off of this. We'll discuss even some other times we can come on and do an hour and a half segment, or however we want to do this, to continue to let this be an option. Because like you said, you know, there is so much positivity within our sport, and I do not want to see that get tainted by some of the bad apples. Bad apples need to be weeded out, and at the same time, I feel like at the same time, our sport of pro wrestling can survive. So I think just to even have a platform like this, once again, first of all, thank you to Sorg and his team, but to have a platform like this, I think is so well needed as we begin this process. And like I said, you know, I've heard some things, you know, through the grapevine with some people that I've been personally affiliated with in regards to business. I reached out to them and try to get their side of things as well, and seeing where this thing is at, because based on my personal experience, I did not have any issues, but at the same time, I do not look at it blindly. I do understand that things do happen. So I think at the same time, right as we're around this time, I'm comfortable with doing one of these again and have some others come through. Like if we had like a roundtable discussion, a virtual roundtable discussion or something like that. And because I know there's a lot of brothers and sisters that want to speak, and I cannot agree with you more, Chris. Speak up if you feel like there's an injustice through race, through sexuality, through gender, through whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, when you make that oath to get through training and proper training and doing good quality shows, you are permanently ingrained in a sisterhood and a brotherhood, which means no matter where you go, there are sisters and brothers that will treat you just like blood. We're the same way. I know I can say that for Chris and I know hundreds of those that say the same thing about anybody. So do not feel like you are alone. Know that someone else is a voice for you, and, we're going to help get the word out there for you.
And that's exactly it. Rev and I, you and me, man, we became brothers. You know what I mean? Guys like Ryan Edmonds and Ryan Mitchell are my brothers. Quinn Magnum, Brandon Kay, the list goes on and on and on. They're my brothers. All right. People like Stacy Hunter. Long time since she was on the council, the Fight Underground Council. I haven't seen her for years. She's still like a sister to me. I've met a lot of brothers and sisters. And look at me right now. Yes. You are my brothers and sisters. You are my brothers. You are my sisters. You are Rev's brother. You are Rev's sister. Absolutely. We are out here. And I agree 100% with Rev. If anybody wants to come on here and do this again, this is all about healing, and it's all about progress. It's all about positivity and growing and as positive people, both as performers and human beings. This is our time. This is our platform. Let's make positive change. Let's do better for one another. Yeah. Let's make it a better place, both in the ring, out of the ring. This is a brother and sisterhood. This is family. So let's guide each other through. Let's be there for one another. I am down for this anytime. Absolutely. Let's start being better for one another. Let's turn us around, and let's make this world great again. You know what I mean? As good as we can make it.
As good as we can make it, man. Yeah, well, hey, Chris, once again, I truly appreciate you for, even just having this idea. And you already know that I was down. That was a stupid question to even ask me, brother. But I know. And then I appreciate Sorg. Actually, as soon as you messaged and made the post, Sorg reached out to me and he asked if there's any way that he can help. And once again, when it comes to situations like this, I do not turn down help or the way that we can kind of get it out there to other people. But for those that have been watching live, we appreciate you all that have been tuning in, have been watching this all the way through. For those that are just now coming on, I know Sorg said he's going to repost it at some point in time. So if you have any questions, leave them live in the message right now or leave them in the comment section once the video is reposted for you guys. And I promise you we're going to make sure to get to those questions. I'm going to monitor those questions until the next time we set up a live, and we're going to hit those questions, hit those topics, because we all need to be there for each other and feel like our voice is heard.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad because honestly, I for some odd reason, of course, I must have done something wrong, but I haven't been able to see any comments. So I haven't been ignoring anybody's comments. I just haven't seen them. So I'm going to have to go back and look at them myself.
Listen, Chris, listen. We understand you're a fossil. We understand you're a dinosaur. Hey, listen, the last time, listen, I understand, Chris. The last time you shaved your beard is the last time that Jim Miller looked in the dictionary. I understand, so no. it's okay.
He's got a point. I can't refute that. I can't. No, I got no retort. No, he's right. He's right. I don't think he's ever looked in a dictionary. No.
Yeah,
he might have resorted back to some of those cave paintings, but I mean, let's
But hey, we had to leave everyone with a laugh there. Once again, we appreciate you guys jumping on. Remember, at the end of the day, life is too short, man. You never know when your time is up. So call somebody today. Let them know that you love them. Let them know that you're thinking about them. Let them know that their problems are not going unheard. Be there. Listen to each other. One thing, write this down. This is your homework assignment. Write the word listen down. Write the word silent down. You cannot spell one word without using those same exact letters to spell the other. Be silent. Be able to listen to one another and start a conversation. So at the end of the day, guys, all love to you all. I pray you all well. To all those who are listening, all the fathers out there, and even the mothers. Happy Father's Day to you guys for doing your job. We appreciate you. Chris, I appreciate you. Sorg, I appreciate you. Guys, for some of the best wrestling around, you already know what to do. Go to IndyWrestling.us. Make sure to show some love that way. And then also follow all of your favorite athletes all around the world. Pro Wrestling Tees, a bunch of them are on there, and follow them on social media. We'll see you guys later.